Thank you very much. My name is Greg Abel. I'm from Walnut Creek. I'm with the law firm of Whiting, Ross, Abel, and Campbell. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Greg Abel, Whiting, Fallon, well, that's the old firm, Whiting, Fallon, Ross, and Abel, but now it's Whiting, Ross, Abel, and Campbell from Walnut Creek. I've been a fellow since, I think, 2007. It is definitely the best organization in the law field that I'm a part of. And it's always a pleasure to see all of you. I am lucky enough to be able to ask questions to my senior partner, Bill Whiting. For those of you who don't know, in the East Bay, tomorrow night there is a gathering called the Alameda Contra Costa Trial Lawyers Association Dinner, where a lot of judges come together. And it's always interesting when I attend this dinner. They ask, where do I work? And I just say Whiting, and they like Whiting. All the older judges, retired judges, ADR, jams, etc. So we may get into that a little bit. Anyhow, I'm lucky enough to... Your second mic drop. I've always wanted to drop the mic. Sorry. So, this is I'm lucky enough, as I said, to be able to interview my senior partner, Bill Whiting, who is that, quote, Whiting, close quote, that everybody in the East Bay refers to when they think of family law. So, Bill, you being a Marine, former Marine in Vietnam, how did it come to be that you practice family law?
Well, the story does start with when I was 19 years old and a sophomore at Stanford, joining the Marine Corps. And I was in a program that allowed me to be in the reserves while I finished college and went to law school. And so I pretty much had my first job out of law school planned for me. In law school, I was probably most interested in labor law. Sam Cagle was my professor in law school teaching labor law and arbitration, and he was represented the longshoreman and famous arbitrator, did Major League Baseball arbitration, ultimately lived with and married Gene Ames, so I kind of reconnected with Sam Cagle in later years. I was also interested in intellectual property and actually wrote a law review article about intellectual property. So family law really wasn't in my vision, although I had Herma Hill Kay as my family law professor, and she was way ahead of her time. I mean, this was in the middle 60s, and she was already talking about three-parent families and donor dads and things like that when it was a revolutionary concept. I think the other thing that sort of shaped what I wanted to do was for 2 summers when I was in law school, I clerked at Orrick, Dahlquist, Harrington, and Sutcliffe, now known as the Orrick firm. When I was there, the 4 named partners would show up with their hats, and I think Mr. Dahlquist had a cane and so forth. And I realized at that time that wasn't really a culture that I was fit for. So 3 years in the Marine Corps, and during that time had an opportunity to try a number of courts-martial cases, several homicide cases, and some other various serious criminal matters, and a year in the Republic of Vietnam. And then the ultimate opportunity to practice family law. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I joined a firm in Richmond, which was my hometown, Watson, Hoffey, and Fannin, and I was lucky enough to have Coleman Fannin as my mentor. Coleman Fannin went on to become a Superior Court judge and was one of the founding members of JAMS. And my history of what I had done, I said my requests or requirements are to have a practice where I can actually deal with clients and not be in the back room somewhere, and to try cases. And it was a general practice firm, so I had an opportunity to try all kinds of cases. To start with, personal injury cases, some criminal trials. I actually tried to a positive result, a medical malpractice case, which amazes me now that I undertook that particular endeavor. But in the process, in response to my request, I was given all the family law cases and got to deal with clients and to go to court. And that part of the practice quickly begot of itself, and that became what I wanted to do.
During your time with Watson Hoffey, any special appellate decisions that maybe some of the fellows have run across?
Boy, that's a leading question.
It is a leading question.
So it was a good experience. Yes, I had an opportunity to argue before the California Supreme Court successfully in a case called Valley Bank of Nevada versus Superior Court, a case about the right of privacy for third-party individuals who are against whom discovery is sought in a case, and still cited. And so that was an opportunity when I was in my early 30s.
And so at that time, what were the circumstances that prompted you to start your own firm in 1980? And in Richmond, California, of all places.
Well, I did have some acquaintances and connections in Richmond, but the Coley Fannin going on the bench was part of the reason. But three of us who were the 3, 4, and 5 hitters in the Watson and Hoffey lineup started our own firm. And the notion was it would be a 3-part firm. One of my partners did real property matters, another did business, and I did family law. And the concept was that we would try and grow the firm to as many as 10 attorneys, and that was sort of the launch point.
We're growing a little further than 10 attorneys, just so you know. But describe, I think all of us who have been in law firms and practice law, we know we have had some positives and negatives. We'll focus on the positives. What are some of the positive takeaways from your 40 plus years with the firm?
Well, first and foremost is the longevity of the relationships. Andy Ross and I have been partners for 30 years. You and I, Greg, are 20. And this group should really interview Ann Fallon. Our first hire as an associate for the three of us who started the firm was Ann Fallon, and she revolutionized the concept of retirement benefits being an asset in a family law case. I mean, when we started, if the retirement benefits were not vested and in pay status. They were a mere expectancy, and so there was no real ability for the non-employee spouse to get an interest in those benefits. And Ann championed that, and I'm still in touch with Ann. Talked to her the other day. She spends part of her time in London now with her daughter and grandson, but she was remarking we had put her name up to be a member of the AML, and as has been explained, all it took was one person to say, well, I don't know this person, or I don't think she's a litigator or a litigator enough to warrant being a member. Ann describes the situation that she was said, okay, you can be a member, but come to the meeting and you'll make the presentation at the meeting kind of as a condition of becoming a member. And her talk was on the fact that if you're going to bifurcate marital status, you need to get a retirement order in place to protect the retirement benefits. And actually, she went on to carry legislation to make that happen.
Anne truly was amazing in that history of the evolution of retirement benefits and actually the evolution of a lot of the underpinnings of family law and where we are today. It's good that we're having this discussion, this project, because some of us newer fellows, we forget where we come from. And you and Madeline and others have paved the way, which you can go online and watch the interviews, Diana here to my left especially.
So I would say also I'm pleased with our alumni who have not stayed with the firm but have gone on to be successful family law practitioners elsewhere, including a couple AML members, Special K, Sarah Killingsworth, Michael Bonetto. So I'm really pleased that our alumni has seen to continue practicing in this area.
So speaking of the AML, how did you become a member of the AML? What drew you? How did you get here?
So I had a case in Marin County, and as was the case then, and I probably still is, I think it still is, they didn't let the drawbridge down to allow Contra Costa County attorneys to come over to Marin. And I had been introduced to Peggy Bennington and associated her in the case, and so we tried the case together in Marin County, and I was able to get passage into the Marin County courthouse, and became friends with and treasured the relationship with Peggy, and she said, there's a slot open in the AML. I think we can get you approved. And with Simborg and Bennington as my sponsors, I was accepted.
I think that was back when there was a pipe bringing water to Marin County during the droughts of the 70s and 80s. So as a final question, what do you regard most about your membership here in the AML during the past few decades?
Without question, the friendships that have been developed, and I don't think you really get to know an attorney by having a case with that attorney or know what the attorney is really all about. I mean, yes, we're all attorneys, but we have other things in our life that make us who we are, and understanding those facets of the members of the AML and appreciating and respecting all of their talents and capabilities has been meaningful. And especially our chapter, but attending the AML Southern California events, Chicago, and those things where we get to know a broader scope of attorneys practicing our profession.
Well, I just want to say, as your partner, but more importantly as your mentee, having you as a mentor has been the best part of my family law experience. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for not asking me zinging questions.